Kohalo Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock. Shalom and salutations, new brothers out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity on Power Mouth. And I'm going to make a video about brotherhood and alms giving and not abusing. All right? Not abusing. What is use and what is abuse? The difference is here. Because, first of all, in this video that I have right here on GMS Archives channel from 2013, the apostles, I'm about to play some of it. The apostles begin to go into how there once was a camp member who pretty much was abusing a situation as far as alms go. He was open to keeping his hand open, as the scriptures say, not repaying. And he was just taking brothers' money and calling different brothers from different camps and going out of his way just to collect money for whatever purposes he had. All right. And he was abusing the brotherhood. Okay. So the apostles going to go into it. They're going to bring out a precept, which I got lined up. And let's listen to what they say. It's some good correction on their part. Inshallah.
Yeah, I got the scriptures. This is Matthew 23:14. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Come. Therefore you shall have received a greater damnation.
Okay, here's for pretense.
Strong's G 4392. Prophecies. Prophecies.
It says a pretext, alleged reason, pretended cause, show under color as though they would do something, in pretense ostensibly.
And that's what those preachers are doing. They get all that money from the congregation, but they'll tell them that if you plant that seed, see, you got an eviction notice. As soon as you plant that seed, we have Betty over here, Sister Betty, come on over here. Yes, I plant that seed. I had that $1,000 in my bank, and I sent it to Reverend Lucifer RX. And I went home, and they sent me a letter saying that the bill was paid. And everybody goes crazy. They play the organ. Well, that's what the scribes and the Pharisees did to those widows that didn't have that much money. You know, the scribes and the Pharisees would say, look, you know, if you give this money, don't worry. I know you're catching help, but the Lord's going to bless you. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to lay hands on you right now. That's what the word pretense means. Pretend. And that's exactly what you did. Your black ass did, man. With that brother from London, man. The man told you they didn't have the money, but you figure you can take advantage of him. Like I said, we knew that you were getting money from certain brothers because certain brothers told us. But there ain't nothing wrong with that. If you in a jam, a brother should help another brother. But you figure, well, wait a minute, this guy, yeah, I said I was in a jam. I thought he was going to send me $50. He wound up sending me $500. He said, man, I'm going to call this guy once every 2 weeks. I'm going to see how much money I can get at this nigga. That's what you were thinking, man. And we ain't gonna stay on this guy. We didn't want to even get on this guy in the first place.
All right, so that's part of the video, how they handled that situation. Yeah, so like the apostles was going into, if you in a jam and you need the brotherhood and you need loans and you need money, you go ahead and you ask, man. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. But we should also know that you should also know that there's a thin line. You can get sucked into abusing that situation easily. All right, you can get sucked into abusing that situation easily. Now, I'm trying to get to you the word. All right, the scripture about not abusing it, using the word, not abusing it. All right, let's see if I could. Okay, 1 Corinthians 7:13, and they that use this world as not abusing it, the fashion of this world, for the fashion of this world passeth away. So there is a situation in which It's okay to use the world. Let's find the word use in that situation. Or use the brotherhood. Ain't nothing wrong with use, because use works two ways. I'm gonna get into that later. To receive a loan, okay, it's definitely talking about money. To borrow, to take for one's use, to make use of a thing. You know, mainly money, but you can also use in any forms of fashion. If you need brothers to help you move, you go ahead and you let them know. And brothers do this all day, every day, and don't abuse the situation. It's just every so often you got an infiltrator who likes to abuse the situation. Okay? Guess what? You allow yourself to be used in this truth as well, because you want to use. It's called reciprocity. It's called give and get. It's called back and forth. You know, each one help one hand, wash the other, both wash the face, right? So what's the abuse though? Where's the, let's see, let's get the definition of abuse. Not abusing it. What would abuse be? To use much or excessively or ill. To use too much, to use up, consumed by. So if a brother is worth, you know, a brother might have $1,000, and you asking for 950, and you using up everything this brother has, man. You know what I'm saying? You're using too much and excessively. Okay, and then as it says here, to overuse, i.e., misuse and abuse. So to overuse somebody,
The thing that we want to get.
to overuse somebody is to abuse that situation. Let's continue on to some precepts here. As a matter of fact, I have here. This is from the National Institute of Drug Abuse, because I typed in use and abuse, and guess what popped up? Drug abuse. Because drug abuse doesn't start off with addiction. It starts off with just using. It says many people don't understand why or how other people become addicted to drugs. They may mistakenly think that those who use drugs lack moral principles and willpower, and that they could stop their drug use simply by choosing to. In reality, drug addiction is a complex disease, and quitting usually takes more than good intentions or a strong will. Drugs change the brain in ways that make quitting hard, even for those who want to. So that's the same way Satan moves in on you. When you start to abuse situations and abuse brothers, that feeling, Satan allows that to feel good, man. You know, like how the scriptures say stolen waters are sweet. In dealing with adultery, adulterous men boasting. Scripture talk about adulterous man, that an old man that doteth about adultery. Scripture, the evil and sin, Satan allows that to be pleasurable. You feel me? It's like a pleasurable sin where people can boast now, brag even about their sin and their evil deeds and their wickedness. Well, that's the same way if you a drug addict, you don't have that strength anymore. You're weakened into making decisions to cut it out, stop it, whatnot. You're now actually prolonging the situation because your brain can't fight against it. It makes quitting hard, it says. It says, fortunately, researchers know more than ever about how drugs affect the brain and have found treatments that can help people recover from a drug addiction and lead productive lives. It says addiction is a chronic disease characterized by drug seeking and use that is compulsive. All right, see, use that is compulsive. Talking about using and abusing, or difficult to control despite harmful consequences. The initial decision to take drugs is voluntary for most people, but repeated drug use can lead to brain changes that challenge an addicted person's self-control and interfere with their ability to resist intense uses to take drugs. So they abuse, and their brain can't fight against that. These brain changes can be persistent, which is why drug addiction is considered relapsing disease. People in recovery from drug use disorders are at increased risk for returning to drug use even after years of not taking the drug. All right. What happens to the brain when a person takes the drugs? Most drugs affect the brain's reward circuit, causing euphoria as well as flooding it with the chemical messenger dopamine. So just like when, stolen waters are sweet, once again, that example, that when you start to commit sin, when you start to commit adultery, when you do something wrong, it's not as if you constantly or always going to feel bad about it. Sometimes you're going to feel, the brain is going to react. The dopamines and the euphoria that come along with it is going to allow you to be deceived. That's why the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? Because you can't trust in your own vain opinions. You can't even trust in your own way. Lean not unto thine own understanding. All right, you're gonna cause yourself to err because your brain will start to deceive you and make you think that you feel great about something that's wicked and evil, sinful, and something that's gonna get you jacked up, something that's gonna stop you from getting your reward in the kingdom of heaven, something that's gonna interfere with your walk and your path. All right, and so you got to be careful about, in order to basically, but here it is. Not everybody becomes addicted. How come? You got people that are prescribed by doctors Percocets. They don't end up, popping them like M&Ms. You got people that's prescribed promethazine for or cough syrup. They don't start pulling up talking about Waukesha, my baby, and making songs about they love for getting high. All right. So once again, it's once you abuse that situation, okay, once that situation or that relationships become abusive, that's when it's bad for both parties. That's when it's corrupted. So ultimately, what's the scripture say about brotherhood and our dealings with brothers? First of all, Leviticus 19:18, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against thy children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. So you gotta imagine the best way to do this for myself. Sometimes you gotta imagine your face on on a brother. Imagine your face. If you can't have no love for nobody but yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, right? You ain't got no hatred towards yourself for the most part, right? More than likely, unless you still Americanized or something. You could look in the mirror and not have no hatred for yourself. Well, imagine your face on all of them other brothers. You feel me? So it's like you should have that much admiration and love for others as brothers as you love for yourself. You understand? So love thyself as our neighbor as ourselves, right? The scripture I wanted to grab now is Ecclesiastes 9:12, showing you there ain't nothing wrong with using and not abusing, as long as you understand the difference. So Ecclesiastes 4:9, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe unto him that is alone when he falleth, but he hath not another to help him. So we get it now. It's better to be with somebody, with brothers, than without brothers. It's better to have a team of brothers than just yourself, solo. Verse 11, again, if two lie together, then they have heat, but how can one be warm alone? And if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and threefold cord is not quickly broken. So even three is better than two, it's saying. All right, so the understanding here is that, you need the brotherhood, you need to rely on each other from time to time. And that's the beauty of having two instead of one. Tobit 12:9, for alms doth deliver from death and shall purge away all sin. This is giving. So the giving spirit is amongst brothers. We want to give, all right? The only people, it's in our law to give. Why? Because you had the apostles went into this in the same video. You had the Levites. The Levites was the only tribe that didn't have to work. They did not have to work. They were fully sufficient and supplied off of the labors of the rest of the 11 tribes who would take care of the Levites because they had the priestly duties. And so they didn't have to work. All right. Now you got situations where, if the Most High bring in 10,000 men or 15,000 men, because we near the end times, and they might, they might become a situation where you won't have to work anymore. Those people your fruits, keyword, your fruits might supply you with everything you need, and you may not have to work. That's partially a reward that is very possible and probable. But if you other than that, you have, unless you're a Levite, and even the Levites on this side, they're working. All right, I know many Levites who have 9 to 5s. They're working, and so just remember that we're trying to build up a nation. We're trying to lead men in righteousness. You don't want to deceive your own brother because he's trying to deliver his soul from death. He's trying to purge away his sin. And here you are trying to abuse that situation. It says, those that exercise arms in righteousness shall be filled with life. And that's the truth. Sirach 33 and 30. Water will quench a flaming fire. Alms make it an atonement for sins. Okay, Sirach 4 and 31. Let not thine hand be stretched out to receive, and shut when thou shouldest repay. So if you're going to take out a loan or borrow money from a brother, you need to repay that. And it says, the scripture in Psalms or Proverbs says, when it is in thine hand to do so, or in that power to do so, you repay it. Meaning you don't just sit on that bread and sit on your bread and sit on your bread, but you work out a deal, an arrangement in which you repaying a man, and you stick to that, man. You stick to that, because once again, to take advantage there's a thin line between use and abuse, a very thin line. And once you begin to cross over into the abusive line, guess what? Your brain ain't gonna tell you, oh, you doing wrong. Your brain's gonna be like, yeah, this felt good. All right, your heart is going to deceive you, talking about shit. You know, it's all right. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? He's a brother, man. Lord gonna bless him, like as the wicked Pharisees did in the Matthews that we were just reading out of. The apostle read the scripture. It says here, Matthew 23 and 14, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, because widows took care of the men. They was basically wives with no husband anymore. Their husband might have more than likely passed away, and so they was left widows, and they would tend to the disciples and the men of the Lord. You know, it says, but the Pharisees knew, and the scribes who were wicked knew this, and it would basically take advantage of them and abuse that situation. It says, for the priest, and make for a pretense, make a long prayer. Therefore, you shall receive greater damnation. So, anybody that's abusive in this truth, man, the Lord got your number. The Lord got your number. Don't think that you're gonna walk away unscathed, man. And more importantly, where's the real reward gonna happen? I'm not looking forward to a day. I hope we out of here before the day where I gotta, I could take a collection and get 10 grand from my fruit. I'm hoping we out of here before that time ever comes. Because that just means we prolonged here. Because the real reward is coming. Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 15. But the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with the Lord, and He care of them, and the care of them is with the Most High. All right. The care of them is with the Most High. It says, therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand. For with His right hand shall He cover them, and with His arm shall He protect them. So we're looking for that covering, that protection that's going to come in the day where the Lord sees fit. Sirach 36 and 16, reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful. We talking about crowns, we talking about kingdoms, Isaiah 60, Isaiah 61. All right, the nations coming, restoring all their goods and riches to us, to the Israelites. All right. So 2 Ezra 2 and 45, last scripture, he answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now they are crowned and receive palms. Okay, everlasting peace, everlasting salvation, the kingdom of heaven, the riches, so on and so forth, the brotherhood, the peace of mind, the sanctity, the safety, all right, and the respect. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Until next time, shalom.